So I wanted to talk about the issue of how should I couch it. Maybe to start off, just inappropriate touching, and let's see if I can come up with a better title by the end. So I finished watching Alan versus Farrow last night. There's 4 episodes. I've taken a couple. They came out very slowly, but I finally got to see the last episode last night. Woody Allen versus Mia Farrow. It was absolutely brilliant. For those of you who haven't watched it, I highly recommend you watch it. Growing up, Woody Allen was the man. I remember we didn't have many television shows, so Friday night and Saturday night were the big times for movies, and it was always a Woody Allen movie. There was Take the Money and Run. He had so many funny movies that people look forward to when I was growing up. There was very few channels on TV when I grew up, and there was very little good content. You could only get to see what they decided to show, and one of the things was Woody Allen. So we watched Woody Allen movies, and they were very funny. And then later on, we learned about Mia Farrow. I guess she was in Rosemary's Baby, which was the movie at the time. And she did a few other roles, but that was the one she was famous for. And then she started dating a lot of high-profile guys. I never found her that attractive, but she certainly was famous. So she dated Previn, and then later on she dated Frank Sinatra. She didn't see that as a long-term relationship. They broke up, and then she was single. And then she went to a party, as the documentary shows, and she met Woody Allen. She only met him for a second. They were eating dinner, and later on he called her up to go out. Now, they don't make much of it in the documentary, but I will say the fact that he wouldn't live with her was very telling and very suspicious to me. He said, "I'll date you and go out with you. We can be boyfriend, girlfriend, but I'm going to stay in my apartment. I'm not moving in with you." And so he would go out with her, but then when the night was over, he'd go back to his own apartment. Now, I guess in New York, I could see some people did this, but that was, to me, very suspicious. And I thought Mia should have been very suspicious of that as well. Anyways, the movie points out, the series points out that as time went along and Mia had all these kids, one of the kids she had was, she had, I don't know, was it 18 children? And one of the kids was a cute kid that Woody Allen allegedly molested. And so the series goes through what happened, and then it shows that there was not only a divide among movie stars, but there was a divide inside the family. So you'll see that one of the daughters that Woody Allen decided to take a romantic turn with, Suni, and one of the other children that liked Woody, Moses, they lined up one side and all the other children lined up on the other. So the movie in the last episode shows that all these movie stars, like Diane Keaton, who is one of his co-stars in a couple of his movies, and many other people I was so disappointed in, said, "Oh, Woody was a great guy and great talent and blah, blah, blah," totally oblivious or not choosing to believe Mia Farrow and what he did. what Woody Allen did to one of her children. This is sad. Thankfully, with the woke Me Too movement and Harvey Weinstein and all this, people started to become aware of this issue, and those who had some maturity and some, let's say, morals, decided to push back on this and started to refrain from working with Woody or watching his movies. That seems to be the way people are fighting back. He just put out a movie recently, A Rainy Day in New York, I think was the title, and a lot of people didn't want to work with him, and he had to go over in Europe to have it, have people watch it and take part in it, but it certainly wasn't big here and didn't get a lot of coverage or renown over here. But I will say there's many more instances. There's, what was that gentleman from the UK, Jimmy Savile, I think you pronounce his name. Years and years ago, where there was the famous movie star whose name escapes me, but he was one of the big movie stars who started molesting boys, and he was finally ousted in Hollywood. So this is not a new issue by any means, and white people seem to have blinders on, or a reluctance to face what seems to be an ongoing issue is beyond me. It seems that people should have been aware of this issue. It's gone on in Hollywood for such a long time, so many years, and this is something that people should have been pushing back upon as soon as it happened. But just like with Epstein, those in charge of bringing charges are reluctant to bring charges against a famous person and seem to put the brakes on anything to do with a legal issue. So hopefully it would be nice. I don't know if anything will happen, but it would be nice to see something done about this issue. But it seems to be, to me, it seems to be an issue that, at least in the West, people seem to have a reluctance to talk about because they're so repressed. Whereas in Europe, this is not an issue that is hard to bring up and take sides with. They're much more unencumbered there. So I'll leave it there, but that's just an issue we need to be able to talk about more and to do something and not allow these guys to get away with so easily. There's also a documentary I watched last night about a UK presenter who was very famous. Everyone seemed to like him. I think his name is Michael Barrymore. The documentary was just called Barrymore, and that was really good. It's not something that we knew in the West. I never heard of the guy. I didn't know anything about this issue, but it seems that he was having a party at his house. One of the gentlemen, I think his name was Stanley Lubbock, something happened to him. I'll let the documentary explain it, and people assumed it was Michael Barrymore. You'll have to be the judge on whether he did it or not. I won't spoil it for you, but that's another issue that he tried to revive his career by going on Big Brother. I've never watched Big Brother, but I know of the show, and people seem to not like him. They seem to take a turn. That was the end of his career. He couldn't get back on TV because of that. It's funny that we seem so mature, or we think of ourselves as so mature, but when an issue comes up, people are so reluctant to condemn movie stars. I watched the second part of Leaving Neverland as well last night after that, and I knew right away. I grew up with Michael Jackson and his music. I knew right away he was that way. But I remember when the ABC 2020 came on, I was watching with a couple of friends, and they had a little doubt. They said, oh no, he just likes boys, and I could not believe it. So I think it has to do with the maturity of the masses, right? A few people can see there's a problem with somebody, but until the masses agree that there's a problem, nothing seems to get done. So we have to be able to convince the mass of people that there's a problem of morality with someone, and then somebody takes time to get something done and bring charges against. So I'll leave it there. That's an issue we need to be more aware of, I think, collectively. Okay? So I'll leave it there.